If evolution has taught humanity anything, it's that adaptation is key to survival. Over the years, prey creatures have developed brightly colored skins, new odors, and camouflage techniques to keep predators away. And in turn, predators get faster, sturdier, and better at detection. This game of cat and mouse is everywhere in the natural world, and now it's taking over the digital one too. As cybercrime defenses improve, malicious actors are being forced to adapt new ways of attack. They're developing new malware, new attack vectors, and new evasion techniques to try and keep from being caught. In response, IT teams have had to step up their vigilance, pursuing constant security advancements to keep the criminals out. They say adversity breeds innovation, and one group has been innovating near constantly since it first landed in the cybercriminal scene in 2022, and its code name is Boolka. Okay, Nick, what do we know about Boolka and what makes it a notable masked actor group?
Yeah, thanks a lot, Gary. So, Boolka really is a cybercriminal group that we discovered or first observed really in 2024. The group's really been operating since 2022. They're pretty known for using SQL injection, mainly to hack different websites, insert JavaScript, and collect as much information as they can to then profit later. The analysts at Group IB consider Boolka a high-level threat because the group has also built different malware families to remain anonymous, but also to be creative on the fly. The group's ability to really adapt and deploy malware is significant in this nature.
And what's their aim? Like, what do they want to do with this personal data?
Yeah, so Boolka really wants to compromise as much data as possible. They want to compromise high traffic websites, get as much personal information or financial information as they can so they can profit. So they really have a high impact on thousands of different businesses that they can target. And this really puts any business with an insecure website at risk. Anything that can be targeted by an SQL injection is at risk to this particular threat actor.
Thanks, Nick. Well, we're lucky enough to be joined today by Joel Fromont, who is the Senior Manager of the EMEA Security Specialist Solutions Architect team at Amazon Web Services. Thanks for sitting down with us, Joel. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. Thank you for having me. I have 2 decades of experience in IT and security. Prior to joining AWS in 2022, I worked for 2 global heavy industry companies, Lafarge, manufacturing cement, and Imerys, a mining company. I've led several complex technical projects for users across up to 90 countries, including networking, collaboration, security, identity and access management, email security, firewalls, Security Operations Center. I ended up becoming a CISO, among other roles. I've been on the front lines of incident response for a ransomware attack, which has given me some valuable lessons. This is the very moment when you benefit from all that you've prepared and you suffer from your gaps. Are you able to isolate compromised sites? Have you built a strong partnership with your security suppliers for them to help you during and after the crisis? Is your team mobilized for the crisis? First, your business needs to survive. Then you want to understand the attack. Then you restore the services, and then you launch a security improvement plan with a strong support from the top management. My work has led me to develop a keen interest in when groups evolve tactics and how we can respond to keep ahead of threats.
Awesome. Thanks, Joel. You've had a pretty interesting career by the sounds of it. I think you're the first person I've met that's actually dealt with a actual ransomware attack. Boolka are known for modular malware. Can you talk us through what that is and why it's so dangerous?
Sure. Modular malware is significantly harder to detect than conventional malware. The initial payload is often minimal and appears benign, allowing to bypass security defenses. only after establishing itself does it download additional malicious components which may be encrypted or obfuscated. The malware can assess the victim's system and selectively deploy only the modules that will be effective against that specific environment. So it's kind of polymorphic. For example, it might deploy different modules based on what security software is installed, making each attack customized and more difficult to defend against. Depending on what the attackers wants to steal, they can pick and choose the modules so that they scrape the right kind of information from an infected website. So, for example, they can use a keylogger module to steal passwords, a file theft module to get the files, or use a JavaScript injection to take all the user inputs.
And what's the benefit for them for doing it this way?
Well, modular malware gives cyber criminals better success rate, lower cost, higher profits, and reduced risk of detection and prosecution, making it an extremely attractive approach to the perspective. Cyber criminality is business. Modularity leads to a better return on investment.
Yeah, definitely. And another real benefit of that, like you said, is the group's ability to use this module malware and really switch out any of the modules that they need without having to write their malware. And this means that they can adjust what they're doing quickly, get back to stealing data without any interruptions, right? And that's what Boolka's been doing for a long time, and that's one of the reasons that they've been under the radar for so long.
Yeah, this adaptable malware seems to mirror their overall tactics, doesn't it? Adapt, change, evolve.
Yeah, you only have to look at the timeline of Boolka's attacks to see the pace of change. Really, in 2022, when the group started, it was mostly simple SQL attacks. But by 2024, it had launched really a full platform with different module malware and capabilities. The scripts are more dynamic, and the group has introduced different stealth features along the way to help them avoid detections.
Now, we know to an extent that all groups try to achieve this kind of evolution. What is it that makes Boolka such a strong example in this, Nick?
For me, I like to look at cybercriminal groups as how closely are they operating to a scalable, profitable business model. And really, that's what Boolka is doing. They're developing and building their own malware. And it proves that these threat actors are not just opportunistic. They're building a business, if you will, and they're committed to developing their tools, their tradecraft, and making it more scalable and a more mature group overall.
And it also shows us that the group is really planning ahead. Malware development requires sustained effort, which they're putting in place. Nicholas makes an excellent point about Boolka's rapid evolution. What makes Boolka particularly noteworthy as an example is the speed and the sophistication of their progression. It's really the strategic mindset coupled with the skill growth that suggests a more disciplined and persistent threat.
And Joel, how do we see this strategic use of modular malware changing the economics of cybercrime?
Yeah, it's really about economics. Cybercrime now costs the global economy an estimated 10 trillion annually, which could be 20 times larger than the illegal drug trade, which is estimated at 500 billion. This scales means cyber criminals have really unlimited resources to recruit skilled developers, build sophisticated infrastructure, and sustain long-term operation. We're also seeing increased activity from state-sponsored threat actors who bring nation-state resources and strategic objectives to the threat landscape. The economics have fundamentally shifted. Historically, building sophisticated malware required significant upfront investment, skilled developers, time, and infrastructure. Being modular makes that this kind of malware has disrupted this model entirely. You now have a kind of malware as a platform or on the model of the software as a service dynamic, where the core investment is made once, and then individual modules can be developed, tested, and deployed both rapidly and cheaply. So what we see is that cyber criminals have adopted agile development methodologies. Criminals are building and deploying unique malware at a much faster rate. It also brings to light the willingness of cyber criminals to refine their methods once security teams have caught on their tactics. The days of fingerprinting once, protected forever, this is over. Traditional signature-based defenses that identify and block known threats are no longer sufficient. Threat actors evolve too quickly for static defenses to remain effective. At AWS, for example, we use Matpot and Mithra. Matpot is a network of tens of thousands of sensors detecting up to 100 million attacks daily. And in parallel, we have Mithra, which is really leveraging DNS and all the information we get from billions of DNS information every day in a neural network mode. And this helps us identify rogue actors. And then we use the data and the findings collected from Matpot and Mithra to feed our security services, such as GoDuty and Security Hub. And one of the learnings that Matpot revealed is that rogue IP addresses lifecycle is around 3 minutes. That's how fast rogue IP addresses rotate. This puts into perspective our security teams must now continually adapt and respond to the cyber critical agility.
Yeah, I can see the analysts at Group IB licking their chops to get access to that wonderful telemetry that you mentioned, Joel. And I think you have a lot of great points about the cyber criminal ecosystem and really the rapid development that's taking place. First, you have to look at how cyber criminals are designing their businesses, quote unquote, to scale. What different capabilities they're doing to increase their efficiency and maximize their return on investment. And the second thing that we see in the cyber criminal ecosystem is cyber criminals are starting to take advantage of AI like the rest of the world as well. They're designing more convincing phishing emails. They're using deepfake technologies, generating images. They no longer have mistakes in their campaigns to people, right? And we've also seen them starting to leverage AI in their code development as well to speed up deployment of new capabilities. We actually have a really great report that the Group IB intelligence analyst did. It's called Weaponized AI. And that covers kind of what cyber criminals are implementing from an artificial intelligence perspective and what they're using in those different tools and tradecraft as well.
Well, it's a race, as we said at the very beginning, between attackers and defenders. However, I believe that a strong foundations and a multi-layered security approach is the best posture to resist attack. We're looking at Boolka today, but at the end of the day, what a defender needs to put in place needs to resist all kinds of attacks, including Boolka. So if you reduce your surface of attack with perimeter protection, such as well-configured firewalls, opening only the port you actually need, not overexposing to the internet, having anti-DDoS in place. At AWS, our customers use Shield and WAF. They use CloudFront. You need good identity management as well. This way, you reduce the likelihood to be attacked, even by well-equipped attacker. And back to securing agentic AI, it's definitely a subject in itself. And I believe that one of the first requirements of agentic AI security is that the rest, what we could call legacy security, is in place. Because if you build on top of weak foundations, your agentic AI security is doomed. But on top of legacy security, you need to make sure that your agents are secured as well. For example, you need to look at agents' identity and access management, and that's a new topic. What kind of access rights do you grant to agent? How long for? And that's super important.
Yeah, definitely. This ecosystem is changing really fast. Joel, how can businesses get the balance right between usability, openness, and some abuse prevention?
As I just said, everyone needs today more than ever to do their homework. We say eat your security vegetables with the strong multi-layered defense that I just mentioned. No layer is going to be perfect though. So the idea is that even if an attack goes through one of the layers, there would be another layer providing protection. And the good way to get organized for this is to make sure that you cover all chapters of security. Like it is well described in the norms, such as ISO 27001, NIS2 in Europe, NIST. And then it covers all the chapters like identity and access management, which is a key part of the zero trust philosophy. Governance, super important, secure development, perimeter protection, incident detection and response, patching, email security. You need to make sure you can tick all the boxes.
Yeah, I think those are really great points, Joel. Having a good, secure foundation in place, multi-layered approach. And, once you have that in place, I always think it's important to understand who are my adversaries and how could they target me and what tools and techniques would they use to do so. That's one of the most important things, I think, after you have all of the foundational elements in place for security so that you can be prepared for these adversaries that may target your business. And what tools and techniques these adversaries may use to do so. If we take that approach to Boolka, obviously regularly patching to prevent SQL injections on your site, that's the weak entry point for them. You maybe want to consider doing different offensive security audits or vulnerability assessments to fix additional potential weakness points. You definitely want to be monitoring for web traffic, for unusual script injections into your page, and looking for things like bmanager, their customized malware tool. If you understand those tools and techniques, these are the things you need to be on the hunt for.
I think it's a trade-off between I want to be ready and defend against all kind of bad actors, including the ones like Boolka. But also at the same time, the question is, why should I be a target? Is it my reputation? Is it the data that I have? Is it money? What is the motivation of the bad actors? And once we've understood the risk level, I would insist on the need to have a strong sponsorship from the top management up to COMEX level, CEO level, and board level. That is super important.
Yeah, I love that. We often hear this from our guests. Where do you see opportunity for collaboration within an ecosystem like this?
Well, security is a business problem at the end of the day, because if anything bad happens, the business is impacted. So you need everyone internally to be on the same page for a robust defense, involving key stakeholders in security decision and response plans is critical. For example, at AWS, our CEO attends a weekly call with the security team, the CISO, and anyone who needs to be involved because they are at risk or because an incident has occurred. It's the kind of integrated thinking that helps us to put us on the front foot of attacks. In many companies, teaming with the audit department is a good idea. because the role of the audit department is to assess and report on the risk that the company is taking. And it's a common mistake that IT bears the cyber security risk. It shouldn't be IT, it should be the audit department. And so the best solution is really to partner between IT and the audit departments. And additionally, threat intelligence needs to be used. We've not mentioned it a lot so far, but if you know what's on the darknet, what kind of threat you're exposed to, it's better to defend oneself. And it's like for war, intelligence is key. This can be achieved either through partners or when using a large cloud provider. It's about constant vigilance. There's definitely no one-time fix.
Yeah, and I mean, Boolka's attacks obviously impact the businesses that they target, but also you got these users, end users, and normal people who get caught up in it. What do the defenders and the users, misunderstand about trusted services?
There's a common misconception that popular or well-established sites can't be vulnerable to attacks. In practice, SQL injection vulnerabilities can be found anywhere implementation is flawed. And if you look at some sites that report on breaches, you'd be surprised to see that every day you have well-established companies or administration that get breached in.
And how can people stay safe online then when it's sort of impossible to know which websites are actually secure?
Yeah, I think if we're talking about the layman, right? My mother, for example, or really anybody for that matter, the main advice from me is to be suspicious, to ask questions. And I think it's having this mindset that can make all the difference. Little things like taking into consideration the email or suspicious email you received that may be putting pressure on you to send communications out or send information about your bank. Take a quick look at who's actually sending that email. Is it from someone you recognize? Should I maybe go to the actual legitimate website to call them directly and see if it's actually something that they want me to do, right? So I think those are different things that you can do. Be suspicious. There's also other things, right? Like turning on multi-factor authentication on all of your different services, your email services, your social media services as well. Definitely only downloading apps from official app stores or trusted official sources that you can verify. These things can help you keep safe, I think, for the layman's.
Yeah, education plays a key role, and users need to adopt a defensive outlook, almost paranoid. I think everyone should be paranoid in such a context, in the good sense of the word. And yes, following Nick's advice to ensure any attack that does impact them doesn't have far-reaching, undesired implication. But while users need to be proactive about online security, when sites have vulnerability, it's not the user's responsibility to mitigate them. For defenders, it's a case of keeping developing and keeping collaborating. If cyber criminals aren't keeping the status quo, and they aren't, we can't afford to be complacent.
Awesome. Well, Joel, thank you very much for taking the time to join us today to talk about all things Boolka and cyber attacks. We look forward to catching you again soon.
Thanks a lot, Joel.
Thank you.
Your data is valuable and it's under attack. Cyber espionage groups, financially motivated threat actors, ransomware attackers, and other criminal enterprises are on the rise. Working in secrecy to dismantle security perimeters, they spread like a virus through the web, stoking geopolitical tensions, holding businesses to ransom, and flooding criminal marketplaces with sensitive information. These groups thrive in secrecy now more than ever. Knowing who your adversaries are is critical. So join us as we ask who's behind the world's most prolific cybercriminal groups. What are their tactics, their motivations, and their impact? Who are the world's masked actors? Masked Actors is an independent podcast from Group IB, a leading voice in the fight against cybercrime. The threat landscape evolves quickly, but all information was correct at the time of recording and based on Group IB's High-Tech Crime Trends Report 2025. Join in the conversation online using the hashtag #MaskedActors. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Thanks for listening. See you next time as we uncover more of the world's top masked actors.